So I want to get into this clip that Joe Rogan had from his podcast a couple of years ago. He talked about how most men live in quiet desperation. So basically, most men are unfulfilled and not happy with their current situation, their current finances, their current place of employment, and etc. So let's dive into that, and then I'll give my breakdown and my thoughts, opinion on that.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Well, it's like the Pink Floyd line, living life of quiet desperation. I mean, that just terrifies
Well,
me.
that's Thoreau's quote, that most men live lives of quiet desperation. It's one of my favorite quotes ever because it's true.
So
and I've been that guy.
Oh my God.
You're just in this world where you just can't wait to just run away.
And how do people get stuck there? How do you think they get stuck there?
Bills.
Bills, like
Yeah.
financial bills?
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
That's
Bills and commitment. You have an apartment you have to pay for. You have a car you leased. You have a wife that you have to feed. You have a child you have to raise. You have to. You have your mortgage. You have your this. You have your that, and that's where it all comes from.
Where do you think opportunity plays into that?
Well, the opportunity takes place usually when you're young and you don't have any responsibility. That's when you have your options. Well, your options are severely limited the more you gather responsibilities. Like if I had to, as a 51-year-old father of 3, married man, pays taxes, has a house and a mortgage and a business and all that jazz. If I had to quit everything now and struggle the way I struggled as a stand-up comedian, it would never work. But the only way I could be this person now is if I took that chance when I was 21.
So I can totally agree with what he's saying. I do think majority of the men, we do live in quiet desperation. Because if someone would have told me a bunch of things that I know now in my 20s, I could have avoided so many mistakes. I could have avoided so many failed relationships. I could have avoided so many financial mistakes. A lot of times when we're younger and we're in our 20s, and I'm in my 30s, when we're in our 20s, we think we have a whole bunch of time, which we do. But we think we have a whole bunch of time to learn from our mistakes. We can't keep making the same mistakes over and over again. And I think some of the things that I did in my 20s, I would have took those back as far as credit, as far as dating, chasing women, the career I had at that time. There's a lot of things that I could have did differently that would have put me in a better position. But I was hard-headed. I wasn't trying to listen to anybody, right? Anybody older than me, 40s, whatever, would give me some type of advice. I'm like, man, this old head, what does this old head know? I'm going to do it my way, and I'm going to get to where I need to be based on how I feel. I'm not going to listen to what you're trying to tell me. That was you. You made that mistake, not me. And I think about it like, that was like one of the dumbest things I could have did. I should have listened to more of the old heads that were giving me that advice. I look at it like getting advice from older people and older wisdom is like having your own personal mentor, but you just don't have to pay for it. It's like getting your own coach. They're telling you all the mistakes that they made so you don't make those same mistakes. But a lot of the times your pride is stopping you from listening to that person just because you feel like they're old, times have changed, and you can't learn anything better, or you can learn on your own. But by not listening to the advice of older people, or the old heads, the OGs, whatever you want to call it, you're slowing down your time to be successful. Learn from the people that made those mistakes so you don't have to make those same mistakes. Don't get yourself into so much commitment to the point you can't get out of it, and that it hurts you later on down the line.
The only way I could be this person now is if I took that chance when I was 21, when I was dead broke and had my cars repossessed and all that stuff. That's the only way you ever get where you want to go. You have to take a path that's dangerous.
Yeah.
And most people want to take the safe path.
Come on, you speaking that truth now with that, like he's on to something right there. I'm telling you, I wish I would have taken more risks when I was younger. I wish somebody would have told me, don't do these things. I already did them. Try this instead. And then I tried that instead and made the mistakes from that and learned from it. It's like I was learning times two. I didn't take enough risks. I was too passive with my growth and my success at that time. And it's probably because I thought I had it all figured out. But I'm telling you, it's way harder to take risks in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s than it is in your 20s. So I wish I would have made a whole bunch of mistakes by taking risks, investing in businesses, starting businesses, buying businesses, traveling, doing all these different things. I wish I would have done that. Because when you have kids and you get a whole bunch of other responsibilities, it's going to slow you down times 10. And it's not over, but you're still risking that time that you could use to jumpstart where you are now. I'm not saying spend a whole bunch of money. I'm not saying quit your job. I'm not saying do a whole bunch of crazy things, but I'm saying take risks at a young age and take risks in general, because you can't get different results doing the same thing. You got to do something different in order to get to where you want to be or get something different. Oftentimes, it's not hard to be successful, but it's hard to develop the habits of somebody that is successful, that can put in the work to get them to where they need to be. Then once they're successful, a lot of that is like the boulder's already been lifted up the hill, and now the boulder's just going down with your success. But it's hard developing those habits to get to that point. That's why you need to take risks so you can learn from them.
Leaves you stuck in quiet desperation almost every time. It's hell. It's hell. When you're selling insurance or some other you care zero about.
But can people just make that change? I mean,
Yes,
look,
you can,
I believe they
but you
can.
have
Yes,
to
you
plan
can.
it out. The
You
way you
can.
can change is you have to put aside enough money to give yourself a window. And then you have to have a plan. And you have to
Yes.
spend all your waking hours outside of whatever job you do planning your escape.
Yes.
And you have to come to the realization very clearly that you f***ed up and you got yourself stuck. So whatever you're doing, you have to do it like your life depends on it.
Yes.
And whether it is you're trying to be an author and if you're gonna try to be an author and you're working 8 hours a day plus commuting plus family responsibilities or whatever else you have, whatever time that you have to attack like you're trying to save the world. You're trying to save your life. You don't want to drown. That
Yes.
1.5 hours a day that you have to write, God damn, you better be caffeinated and motivated. You got to go. You got to get after it. And you got to have discipline.
Before I left my job at Amazon, I was an operations manager there. And I was making over 6 figures a year working there. I come to the realization when I was actually there, I just wasn't happy, man. I wasn't happy at all. I got to do the thing that I love, which was work around a whole bunch of people. But I felt like my calling and what I was supposed to do, I wasn't fulfilling that. So I had to walk away from that job, that career, to start on my business, which is real estate right now. And I'm telling you, I saved up a whole bunch of money to give myself a cushion until I got my business up and running the way that I needed it to be. Now, that was something that I planned 2-3 years before this very moment. But he's right. Most people don't have the discipline, like I said, creating those habits to be able to put themselves in a position to where they're locked in 100% on what they're trying to build once they leave. They don't, because it's hard, especially when you know you got free time. And then if you have a family, you got children, you got other responsibilities, you got friends, you got all these different things going on and going through your mind. You're not thinking about this hour here that I didn't spend on my business. That's not going to hurt me. But you should have learned from that in the beginning and know that you got to do something different and you got to be locked in and focused in order for that to work. Because if you're not locked in and you're not focused and you're not pushing it like it's going to be the thing that you're doing, it's not going to happen. Right? And then you're going to start this never-ending cycle to where you go back to that spot of quiet desperation again. So you got to be locked in. You got to be focused, and you got to be disciplined.
Most people don't have those things. Most people don't understand what it's like to really go for something and to know that the consequences of not doing that are horrific.
Yeah.
Then you're desperate and you're
Yeah.
quiet. But I do think there is something to be said for fate and circumstance.
Sure.
And I always write, I mean, people in these military environments that I write about and in these intelligence world environments, fate and circumstance plays a big part because
Yep.
they
It does.
too can even get
It does.
complacent, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But when your life is on the line, right? A lot of times they have these experiences where they're like, I must change. And that's what I find really interesting
Yeah.
in people.
I can say with that, she hit it right on the head. Like right before I left, I was telling myself like something's got to be different. Like I got to change. I have to change to work towards fulfilling what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing. Like I have to. There was just something burning inside of me so much that I had to change my path. And I knew it was going to be hard. I knew it was going to be past the unpopular opinion. So if you feel that way, I definitely understand how you feel, right? It's hard. Like I've said this plenty of times. There's nobody here to save us. No one is going to save us as men. We're supposed to have everything figured out. We're supposed to know every single angle, every single turn. We're supposed to know the directions before we even go there, right, in life. And no one's here to help you or save you through those hard times. But you have to be locked in to the point where nothing else matters but what you're trying to achieve. So every single time or every single part of free time that you have needs to be focused on what you're trying to build to make your exit to somewhere else. Because the longer you wait, the longer you put it off, the harder it's going to be. So I'm telling you, bro, like if you feeling like that, I totally understand. I felt that way. I was that guy too as well that felt like that. And I had to make a change. And it was hard. It still is hard. But eventually, you're going to have to face your own self once you look yourself in the mirror with these decisions. Either you're going to agree with the decisions that you made to get yourself to the point where you are now, or you're going to have to stare yourself in the face and be that person that says, I wish I would have done something different. Don't be like me and wait and wait and wait when you know you should be doing something else. Plan it out, be smart, but when you have free time, get after it like there's no tomorrow. And if you continuously do that, you will make it, because the only person that fails is the one that quits. And that's real talk. You can't get any realer than that.